Hello and welcome to our take-home workshop, Colorful Translucent Tea Light Shades. To create your tea light shade, you will need some supplies. You will need crayons, which are included in your kit. I have two basic colors I'm using. You are welcome to use whatever colors you like. You will need a sharpener, which is provided in your kit. Scissors, any scissors you have at home will work just fine. You will also need individually cut wax paper. I did mine in squares and I have 8 so that my translucent tea light shade will have 4 sides. You could also do a triangle or a different shape of your choice. You will need some washi tape, which is provided in your kit. You will have a battery operated tea light, which is provided for you. You will also need some kind of heat resistant surface or heat proof surface when you're going to do your ironing. I am just using the back of a cookie sheet for mine. And you will need an iron. And this is my iron just from my laundry room today. I usually, when I do this activity, I usually operate mine on warm or permanent press so it doesn't get too hot. The other things that are kind of optional but have been useful for me is I have a bowl that I have just a couple of inches of water in. I'm going to use this to soak my 2 crayons. My crayons have their paper around them, but if I soak them for about 1.5 minutes, that paper will peel right off and make it very easily to sharpen my crayons into our crayon shavings. The other thing that you may find helpful to have is just a plate or a dish for those crayon shavings to go onto when you're using the pencil sharpener to shave them. All right, so one of my first steps to do is to take the paper off my crayons. They've been soaking for 1.5 minutes or so, and this makes them much easier to peel the paper off. So you can see that I'm just peeling that right off, and I'm going to set that down on my plate and do the same thing with my other crayon. I'm using pink and purple, 2 of my favorite colors, and also I kind of feel that when you make your shade out of colors that you find in nature, it almost looks like dried flowers to me when I had my finished product. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. I've got my crayons here and I'm going to get ready to sharpen. Here's my sharpener. And I just take this, and here are my crayon shavings. I'm just going to put those right on my plate. So I will continue to do this until I have enough shavings for my creation. One thing I've done that I pre-did this before I filmed. This is just a plastic baggie with some of those different colored crayon shavings inside of it. What I've done, this is probably enough for a small translucent tea light shade. If you're doing one that's larger, you may want to shave more than a couple crayons or have more shavings available. All right, now we're getting into the fun part. You can see that I've put one wax paper sheet on my cookie sheet. Then I'm going to scatter my crayon shavings. You can do them in a pattern or you can just do them randomly. It's your choice. If I had some big shavings, I'm going to break those up a little bit so that they don't get too blobby when I iron them. Now I'm going to place the other wax paper right on top of there. I'm going to be careful that my sides and edges line up. I know sometimes it's not possible to get them 100% lined up, and that's okay. It's part of the individuality of your craft. I've got my iron plugged in, and my next step, once that iron is warm, will be to place that over my wax paper and let those crayon shavings melt a little bit. All right, you'll now see my 4 finished shades that I have done. You saw how I melted the one. You'll repeat those steps again to get your 4 shades for a square. If you're doing another shape, then that would be however many shapes you choose to do. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to secure these with my washi tape. At this time, you may need to trim some of the edges. Here's one of my edges. You can kind of see up close that I obviously did not get that totally lined up when I used my iron. So I took some time to make sure I had everything so that it would go together correctly. So I'm going to line up my first 2 shades. I'm going to use my washi tape and just tape this together. Okay. That. Fold this over. Then I will take my next shade. Take my next washi tape. You might want to overlap just a little so that you can get a good edge on there. Okay. Press the tape down so that it adheres. I've got my final one over here. And sometimes you have to lift it up and start again if you don't get it even. That's definitely happened to me a few times. Okay, press that down. Snip. You can also fold over these edges onto the back side. Okay, so now I'm ready to put my final tape in place. This is where it may get a tiny bit tricky and you may want to approximate the length of your washi tape and cut that first. So that's what I'm doing right now. Okay. Now my last part here is going to be putting my lovely tea light right in the center. And I'll show you the finished product here in a minute. And here is your finished product, ready to glow and shine light through its translucent shade anywhere in your home. Enjoy!